Little actors of big business. 1934, Bright Eyes, the song On the Good Ship Lollipop. 1935, Juvenile Academy Award. Shirley Temple smiles at America before she can even write. Why did the warmth on screen turn into a chill in the dressing room? 1934 to 1938, according to 20th Century Fox production schedules, shifts stretched long, the lights ran hot, makeup slipped. Colleagues later recalled the hard set. Biographers note 56 curls as an informal image standard in studio notes. Every curl, studio property. Every smile, a budget line. 1939, the Coogan Law tries to protect children's earnings and hours, but arrives after her peak. When a child becomes a product, love loses its voice. Judy Garland, the girl taught not to sleep. In 1935, she signed with MGM at 13. Her mother, Ethel Gum, whispered, "It's for success." Producers echoed, "It's for the show." Colleagues later recalled pills to keep her awake, then others to make her sleep. Studio paperwork noted packed days and a ready-for-night work expectation. 1939, the premiere of The Wizard of Oz. The voice shines, the eyes grow tired. In retellings, the studio counted weight, frames, and minutes, everything but age. No one said, "She's a child." She sang even when she cried, because the contract had no word for fatigue. A stage, instead of home. For many children, the soundstage became home. Teachers were production tutors. Toys. Props. They grew up inside sets where you couldn't be loud or wrong. The call sheet replaced the school timetable. By the late 1930s, Lana Turner would say she didn't have a childhood, she had a career. She was taken to adult gatherings while still learning to hold a role, not a life. On the vaudeville circuit, Rose Hovick drove her daughters through sleepless rehearsals. Home was a backstage corridor, a berth on a train, a stage with no right to be tired. In the 1970s, Melanie Griffith grew up under Tippi Hedren's control. Press items of the time noted there was less freedom than Len's. And when it all ended, the real world felt like a set with no script. Producer mothers. Some mothers turned into managers, not out of malice, out of fear. Poverty pushed them into deals. They sold their children's smiles the way others sold bread. Ethel Gum, Judy Garland's mother, biographers say, would wait by the studio door and remind her, "One more number, and home." 1935 to 1939, MGM paperwork shows packed days and a ready-for-night work expectation. Lessons were moved onto the stage, lunch to the hallway outside the makeup room. In newspaper columns, the stage mother read like a job title. Mothers negotiated, tracked weight, and picked grow-into roles to keep a foothold at the studio. Sometimes it kept a family from hunger. Sometimes it took away a child's right to pause. From love to ledger, one contract. Parental pride turned easily into an investment. "You were made for the stage" sounded like a blessing and read like a sentence. Fan club letters replaced bedside talks. Children were loved loudly in public. At home, there was only silence. 1930s to 1940s, studio press kits and internal memos framed the family image as a selling point. Charlie Chaplin demanded quiet and obedience at home. In Charles Chaplin Jr.'s Recollections, life beside an idol felt like living with a ruler, not a father. Henry Fonda, the face of calm America, could talk film for hours, Jane Fonda later said, but wouldn't ask how she felt. Love became a clause, closeness, a side effect. Hollywood's rule, children don't age. When a child grew up, the contract ended. So did the industry's love. Studios hunted for new angels. Parents found new excuses. Former prodigies slipped into shadows, unsure who they were without applause. Psychiatrists called it post-screen shock. In real life, it was loneliness. By 1938 to 1939, box office tallies showed a slide in child pictures. Ad layouts started asking for the next wonder face. Shirley Temple had clearly outgrown the part. Studio bulletins repeated a formula. After 16, change the type. Mickey Rooney, the boy wonder, lived between tours and soundstages. In family recollections, home was just a brief stopover between shoots. In later interviews, daughter Kelly said quietly, "He loved the world, not us." That was the age's logic. Without the stage, a child was left with no role to live in. Fathers who chose the stage over home. Men in suits fed the industry, not their homes. Bing Crosby, the voice of Christmas, demanded silence and order. His sons had days scheduled by the minute. There was no line for hug, he said. Music requires sacrifice. And the children went first. In the 1940s to 1950s, his voice filled radio and records, while at home, Gary Crosby recalled, strict discipline ruled. A strap for offenses, a reprimand for tears. In later family conversations, they repeated, feelings aren't for the house. Two brothers could not bear that cold standard and took their own lives, an echo that hangs over every Christmas recording. The music warmed the world, but not his own table. Family as a brand. In the 1950s, Hollywood fell in love with the perfect family. On screen, breakfasts, smiles, dinners by candlelight. Off screen, arguments, contracts, the fear of losing a sponsor. Every frame cost money, every word, reputation. And the harder the smile held, the deeper the crack hid. Press booklets pushed the home as a showcase, and evening schedules insisted on exemplary. Lucille Ball could make the country laugh, but, as her daughter Lucy Arnaz has said, the house ran on strictness and no mistakes. Perfectionism first, motherhood second. In premiere photo sessions, the family looked flawless. In family stories, it sounded different. A step sideways could cost a scene, and silence at the table. The brand of the family outlived the family. When mothers played the daughters, Tippi Hedren dreamed of a second career. Through her daughter, Melanie Griffith, she decided where Melanie would live, whom she would work with, whom she would love. When Melanie pushed back, the mother said, "I'm protecting you from the world." Sometimes, protection is the same cage, just gilded. After The Birds, 1963, casting folders sat on Tippi's desk, one for her daughter. In family accounts, choices were made for the future. In the mid-1970s, a sensitive story surfaces. At 14, Melanie was alongside Don Johnson, passed along without official paperwork, argued over well into later interviews. Press clippings of the time underlined the mother's cool control. By Melanie's own words, there was less freedom than light from the lamps. Joe Jackson, when rhythm became discipline. His children became legends, the Jackson Five. Behind every beat was a shout, behind every note, fear. He called it training. The children called it punishment. Michael said, "He loved us with a belt." Love and business met on stage, where applause drowned out pain. In Gary, Indiana, rehearsals started in the garage and ended when strength gave out. The brothers recall it that way. By the late 1960s, Motown had them. School by day, stages at night, autographs past midnight. In family accounts, a mistake means start from the top. The smile is part of the act. 1969, I Want You Back soars, but at home the metronome is still their father's voice. Show ledgers marked no lateness. In later interviews, the children put it simply, the rhythm saved the music but not us. A generation raised on applause. They grew used to light, attention, the need to be needed. When the lights went down, the emptiness came. No one taught them how to live without a camera, without a contract, without a part. Many went back into that circle, now with their own children, repeating the same line, "It's for you." 1974, Tatum O'Neal wins the Oscar for Paper Moon. In memoirs, it's noted that beside her stood not a mentor father but a rival, Ryan O'Neal. Liza Minnelli remembered touring with Judy Garland. When she was up, it was heaven. When she was down, the whole house went dark, a line heard in later interviews. With Loretta Young, Her daughter Judy Lewis lived a secret for years. 1935 pauses were explained vaguely in the day's notices. Later family accounts tied it to Clark Gable. Anthony Perkins left his son's silence instead of closeness by family recollection. Conversations skirted feelings. So applause became a habit and love a hard role. The voices that never spoke. Behind every childhood star stood an adult counting. Behind every success, someone who stayed silent. When love turns into currency, it loses its meaning. And what remains is the voice of a child, one who once sang and then fell silent forever. 1935, in Society Notes they explained Loretta Young's pause. Years later, her daughter Judy Lewis would learn the name of her father, Clark Gable. 1978, Mommy Dearest hits the shelves. On the glossy cover, Joan Crawford. Inside, the cold and straps of childhood Christina wrote about. In Gary Crosby's Recollections, home was quieter than any score. Anthony Perkins' son said it simply, "We barely knew him while he was alive." All these stories end the same way. When love is tallied, it's the children who pay first. Final frame. How it really was. Hollywood knew how to turn light into gold. But someone always paid for that light with darkness. Love for children is not a business. For too long, it was treated like a role. If this doesn't pass you by, say so. Leave your thought, correct me, add the story we need to hear. Let this be not applause, but a conversation.